I remember you losing your friend. I
Mm,
remember that because I seen how that impacted you.
yeah.
And I'm like, people do not Hello, I am your host, Deju, and you are watching Deju Speaks on ZMN TV every Thursday at 5. So, today I have a special guest with me, and he goes by the name of Taymar Mcdaniel, correct.
Yes.
And I'm going to actually have him tell you what he does because I don't want to mess it up. He's got many different talents. So, I'm going to let you do that. You go ahead and, introduce your company and say.
I'm a man of many hats. I run an umbrella company, so there's a lot of production under that. Primetime Tamar is my brand. That's my YouTube channel. That's my social media. I'm associated with a project called 941 Affiliated, and we're making short films and documentaries about entrepreneurs in the city. We're trying to put a lot of people on, showcase the talent around here, such as yourself, all the
Mm.
beautiful people trying to make some moves and just put some recognition on the city. I do a little bit
You,
of that. I do my YouTube channel. Sorry, I don't
yeah,
mean to cut you
tell
off. I do my YouTube channel, music reactions. I talk philosophies. I talk mental health. I do a little bit of everything, fitness vlogs, all that stuff.
See what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? I like people who do what I do. Got 10 different things you doing at the same time, but you just stunned.
Yeah,
You
we
know what I'm
got
saying?
to. We got to, especially in this economy.
Yeah, you have to, but also it's a craft. It takes a certain kind of person to, do what
Definitely,
you do.
definitely.
Content creation.
It takes effort and it takes a willpower to do it. You just don't do it because you're bored. It takes consistency. You know, you don't just.
Now, did everybody in here talk about how we just showed up? We shot 3 episodes in 1 week. Then the next week we
Ooh,
shot 3 more episodes, and we just kept on going.
hey,
It
that's
was getting
effort.
crazy. That's hustle.
That's hustle. That's dedication. That's time. That's the biggest thing. Time.
Yeah, and then also just with you hustling for something. Not sometimes it can be because you want it, yes, but it can also be because you're passionate about it, and
Exactly.
that's your calling, and you working hard to get there. And people just don't understand that. They don't get that. They just think you doing it just to do it. No, this is my purpose. This is why I'm doing it, and you gonna see. You gonna see. You gonna
Definitely.
see.
Definitely. Sometimes you gotta let your Gemini out, let your Kanye out, and just you
Yeah.
gotta show them the vision. They don't know it till it's
Did you
done.
listen? Did you hear that album?
I
That
hear every
gospel? Did you
album.
hear his gospel album?
Absolutely. Back and forth. Up.
What? Far stretch. Oh.
What is it? Honest, which one was it for me? It was the with him and Clips. Use this gospel. Oh, that's my
Yeah,
one right
he
there.
did, man. I don't care what no one says. You right. Yay on to something big.
You
Okay.
just gotta see the end result. It's gonna be messy getting there. It's gonna be messy getting there. But the end
Yeah.
result gonna be beautiful. And sometimes that's all you need to show people.
Yeah. And more than anything, that directs us right into what we need to talk about today and what our topic is. So, we are speaking on the Black mental health stigma. And, just before we continue, I just want everyone to know that, yes, this is a trigger warning for anyone who is suffering mentally or suffering, physically with any troubles along those lines. We are with you. You are not alone. This is very serious stuff you need to just heed and be mindful about. So, let's get this show on the road.
All right.
All right, cool beans. I like it. You like it?
Yeah, we here.
All right, let's get it. So, what are some mental challenges that you may have faced along your journey following, your passion and whatnot?
Mm, I say confidence is probably number one. That's probably most people's things, and they might not chalk it up to that, but just having the ability to turn the camera on, wanting to
Yeah.
start, like having the ideal is great, but having the willpower to do it is something else, you know?
Yeah.
And whether it's a physical confidence that which I struggle with myself and my weight loss journey and all that good stuff,
Mm.
whether it's just a mental block, you don't like certain mannerisms you may have, you don't
Yeah.
your room may not be the best and you don't got the fanciest stuff, so you don't want people to see that side of you, you
Yeah.
know? It could just be a simple confidence thing, and that's what it was for me. And I've always wanted to speak on different things, but like turning the camera on and being like trying to distinguish myself was very hard, you know?
Did you get to know yourself?
Exactly. It makes you look at what you present and you get to see like what's really me. Like you get to see that, and the editing process shows you that. That's one thing I tell anybody who
Yeah.
starts this. Editing is either going to be your best friend or your worst enemy, because you're going to
What?
always be your own harshest critic.
Yeah.
Once you accept that, them comments don't really mean as much when you know you've already judged yourself 10 times harder before that material came out, before that product came out. If you've already looked at it that hard yourself and you still put it out there, you've already overcome one of the hardest hurdles in the game
Yeah. Just by starting.
just by starting.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, honestly, and I want to like
How do
get people
you
to know that.
fit? So with you being a content creator and somebody who's driven to be in that field, is there times where you feel like displaced? Like, I don't fit within society. I don't, like, how does that
Absolutely.
affect you? Do you feel like this is real sometimes?
No, especially when you go through it, being young and all that stuff. There's a sense of entitlement that comes with youth, and I think that's fair to say. Like as you get older, because then you get to get a little older and you start looking at these kids like,
Yeah.
man, look at these kids. But that was you at some point, and it's like crazy.
You right.
It's
You right.
crazy.
They forget that
Now,
it was them
ignorance,
at some point.
ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
And I think sometimes that rejection, though, is what breeds something beautiful. Me not knowing myself made me pursue knowing myself.
Right.
And that's what made me pick up the camera and take my first pictures. That's what I was like homeless at the time.
Yeah.
So I literally just walk around East Bradenton because I had nothing else to do, talk to all the homeless people, and I was friends with them. And I ended up just taking pictures of pretty flowers. And I was like, this pretty.
It's like
cool.
we have to hit, and I know I gotta engage with y'all. It's like we have to hit rock bottom in order for us to find that passion or for it
Definitely.
to activate or kick in, which is weird.
Definitely. I think that goes into the mental health
Yeah.
thing. There's ego, there's hubris to it, and sometimes you get comfortable in your character. But when life break that wall, when life hits you,
Yeah.
and you really got to see what you can do, what you're capable of, how you react to certain things, that really shows you who you are, you know?
Yeah. Being a creative it comes with a lot. The people who are creatives in this world struggle the most mentally. But we can put out some content that would change the world for the better. We are natural philanthropists. Except for the people who make scary movies. I don't believe y'all are philanthropists naturally. I think y'all are horrible people.
I mean, hey, once again, look at Kanye.
You just put all that evil out into the world. Anywho.
I'm not a big horror movie person. It's crazy. It's a crazy genre to like. It's one thing to watch it, but if that's your main thing,
yeah, you just like,
I'm gonna look at you sideways. I'm gonna look at you sideways just a little bit.
Like you just chose like every moment you get. Can we watch a scary movie? Like mentally, that is gonna hurt you. Your soul. Is anybody thinking about their soul?
The closest I get is documentaries because I'm a documentary person. I love true things because history is history and you can't undo that. But made up stuff like that, I ain't putting myself through that. That's a mental health thing. If you surround yourself with a certain energy and content or anything like that, it's gonna be harder for you to like get rid of that energy. You carry the energy of what you watch sometimes, and that's why content is important. If you put out a certain energy, people are going to get that from you.
Exactly. That's very true. How did you, so you going through, stuff mentally, finding yourself, finding your passion, following your dreams, getting it together. How did you like self-help yourself? Did you self-help yourself in any kind of way?
Yeah, I did. Funny enough, bringing up Kanye earlier, that Kid See Ghost album with him and Kid Cudi,
Yeah.
that getting into spirituality, studying crystals and such, and doing my weight loss thing was honestly my salvation. At my hardest point, I did nothing but work 2 jobs, stay up all night and listen to music in the few hours of peace I had, because if I'm off from these 2 jobs, I'm gonna enjoy my life. I'm not just gonna sleep and go back to work.
Yeah.
So I frequently pull all-nighters, listen to the same album over and over again because it made me feel good. And then research things that I thought were cool or important. Started getting into camera stuff and looking that stuff up. And like I found myself through that. Like I got I don't like to say I did yoga because anybody who did yoga would call me out on that immediately. But I just got into stretching and like meditation more
Yeah.
so.
Oh, so
And
I'll
that
be
was a
lying
big
when
thing
I
for
say
me.
I do yoga. That's all I heard.
Exactly.
Oh, I lied. Ooh, ooh.
Nah. It's a lie
You
if I
know,
say I did
I
yoga.
did. I did yoga. I did.
I did a little bit of stretching, and if I want to be generous to myself, I'll call it yoga.
Anything to make you feel better on the inside.
Exactly. That's how you boost your head up. That's that
Yeah.
confidence. Did you
Confidence.
stretch a
Yeah.
few times, or did you do yoga?
Mm.
What that sound like?
You know what they say? They say we lie to ourselves. We delusional. They
Did
say
you
we delusional.
did you take a bunch of rapid steps, or did you go for a run? There you go. I went for a run today. That
I
sound
went for a
productive.
run.
That sound
I don't know about
productive. What?
That's so funny. Did you ever have a time where you realized, like, okay, maybe I should go and get some help? Like, you know?
Yeah. You know, there are certain things you can't control yourself, I'd say. Like, you're in charge of your own reactions and stuff, but sometimes your mind is bigger than you. Sometimes your mind is stronger than you. And you
Yeah.
don't have the tools to necessarily handle that. So it is important to like seek help if you feel you need it.
Yeah.
And especially more so like for men. And I know that's a large issue for a lot of men because they feel a need to bottle these emotions and such. But that's where homeboys come in, if anything. If you're not talking to a real mental professional, if you're not talking to somebody like that, confide in somebody. It's better than keeping it in.
You think they think it's a burden to share their feelings or their
Definitely.
emotions.
And I went through that. And I've once you go through that for so long and you try to get out of it, sometimes you might confide in the wrong person. And that might put you off from doing it again.
Oh, I hope. Say that one more time for the ones in the back.
Sometimes if you hold off on that too long and you just try to switch up and do the other, you might confide in the wrong person. And that's okay. Don't punish yourself for that. Don't be like, oh, well, I'll never confide in anyone again. We make mistakes. We're not perfect. But it's a matter of choosing where to put that trust. It's a matter of trusting yourself and trusting the people around you. And if you can't confide in them, why are they around you?
Exactly. And it makes you check your whole circle. Yep. You know what? He said a word. Yeah, I'm feeling it. Go ahead. I'm feeling it.
I did a whole TikTok about that, I think,
It's
one time.
important.
I lost friends when I lost weight. And I found that very convenient. It was the backhanded compliments. I had a friend tell me, I feel like you're getting too confident now. We get it. You lost weight. What?
Oh, really?
What? What do you mean by that?
Do you get it?
You don't, because you ain't do it. You don't.
You don't know the work that went into this.
And that's confiding in the wrong people. That's realizing you have the wrong people around you. And I think that comes from like misery loves company. And sometimes when you try to uplift yourself the hardest, and you're going to see resistance.
Well, that you're gonna have to question also it. People waste your time.
Exactly. I think people just love to. Nobody wants to suffer alone, and nobody wants to do well alone. You always want to bring someone with you. It's great to have a companion in life. But if you're surrounded by people that are dragging you down, or if you're surrounded by people that don't even want to lift themselves up, what are they doing for you? Like, how can they do for you if they won't do for themselves? Right. And how can you do for them if they won't do for themselves?
Exactly. And you saying the word. But in the end, throughout figuring all of this, did you get help?
I did. I did. And it really came from like the places I wouldn't have imagined. It came from the people I turned away in the beginning, the ones that were giving me advice that I wasn't ready for at the time. And that hurt. That hurt. You have to swallow that pride. You have
Yeah.
to swallow that pride at some point. For me, it was like family stuff. It was parental issues, rejecting the good advice they were giving me at the time because I thought I knew better, but that's that youthful ignorance I was talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
before. Well, you're just wrong. You don't know. How do you
Oh, you
tell a whole
boy, are
adult
you
that,
wrong?
like, yeah, like,
You
how
have no idea.
I learned, and you got to go back, and sometimes you got to grovel, you got to apologize, and you got to eat them words. It's hard to rebuild them bridges, but sometimes it's necessary, you know?
Just to have that healthy relationship, that person to talk to, those
Exactly.
people who you need and they need you. Like, it's,
Some bridges are worth mending and some aren't, but you
yeah,
have to know, you have to pick and choose those battles. You can't cut everybody off and you can't bring everybody in. You have to find a
right,
healthy middle ground.
right. That's something to say right there.
Definitely.
So, can you pinpoint the moment you made that decision? Okay, I need to talk to somebody. Like, can you pinpoint it?
There's been a few points specifically. I think the biggest one was me just deciding I'm in generally not gonna. I think I was a people pleaser. I think that was my thing. I was very much a people pleaser. So it's not that I wouldn't speak. I just wouldn't confront people with how it made me feel. I know how it made me feel and I'd withdraw myself, but I would never communicate that. And I think it was a matter of like learning to do that. It wasn't necessarily that I had to ask for help. It was just that I had to start drawing boundaries with my emotions and feelings. Like, we're not doing that anymore. This is how this makes me feel. This is how, and because it's not like I really struggled with necessarily any urges to do any harm or anything like
Yeah,
that. You know,
yeah.
it wasn't
But
necessarily an immediate issue. It was just more so inner issues.
yeah,
So
you knew that, the help that you needed wasn't necessarily a therapist.
exactly, I
You knew
kept
it could have
myself
been
away from the
somebody
deep
you
end.
knew for your best interest.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I kept it
Okay.
real small and I just talked to friends or get different perspectives on things. And there was definitely like times when that was necessary. Being
Yeah.
homeless, one of them. Like I
Yeah.
said before, there was plenty of nights I was either sleeping in a car or something, and I was like, have to check with a friend and be like, hey man, like remind me to keep going because this is for a
Yeah.
purpose. There's a reason for this. You got to check in with people and just get back in touch with reality.
I love
Sometimes you
that.
get lost in your
Yeah.
own head and you really got to touch base with somebody that like sees you for you.
Okay. I'm definitely feeling that. We're going to go ahead and go into break. We're going to be right back. This is Deju Speaks, and I'm your host. Hi, my name is Deju, and I'm your host of Deju Speaks on ZMN TV every Thursday at 5, and we are back.
Yeah.
We are back, and, just piggybacking from where you left off, I just want to say, if you ever get to a point, because I know in my journey of self-discovery, because it hurt a lot, it hurt a lot. It was not easy. It hurt a lot. I lost a lot of people. I had to get rid of people. It hurt. And it was people I was upset to let go, but I had to. Because they will hold you down. They will waste your time. And every time I would turn around, they was where I left them.
That's a
I was
good point.
moving up in my life, and they was where I left them. So in that case, I realized in this journey, because of all the pain that I was going through, I needed help processing. So I decided to, you know, try therapy again. Throughout my experience of growing up, one of the episodes I did share that. I did counseling, I did anger management, I did yoga. I did yoga, real yoga. I was stretchy or limber.
Hey.
Anywho, so I did it. I did all of these different mental health things, and I seen the school therapist, and the school provided me. I went to S1EP. The school provided me with a therapist, and then also a student therapist, which was really nice. Except for none of those therapists I felt like could relate to me. So I decided, and I have to share that part because people think, oh, just going to find a therapist is going to find a therapist. No, no, no. It takes more work. They have to specialize in an area that you struggle in. Now I have a therapist who specializes in everything that I need to heal along my journey. So that is some information I'm going to share. And, you know, hopefully some of you apply it because everyone can use a little therapy. Mm-hmm. Seriously, this is Black community, white community, whatever you call yourself, Latino, Latina, whatever. Everybody. Doesn't matter what complexion you have. You have a brain, right?
A little self-understanding never hurt anybody.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I just want to share that. But now we're going to go into something a little bit harder. So this is what I needed to tell you earlier. And I don't know how you're going to react to this, but we're here. So we were supposed to do a set of 4. There was supposed to be you, me, Reek, Shay. You know, you'll get to meet them another time. But today it's me and you. Now, when we talked about the different topics that were available to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. I asked you, which one did you want to talk about? And, you know, you said the Black health stigma, because I could speak more on that. When I was sitting back and I was riding in the car, I said, Taymar. I remember watching and seeing you go through a very hard time in your life on media. You didn't really share too much, but you did talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember you losing your friend. I remember that because I seen how that impacted you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people do not have any idea mentally how it impacts the people around you when you make decisions on your own and you go through things and you don't think you need to talk about it, or you're having this experience and you're thinking you're by yourself, and you're not by yourself. You have friends, you have loved ones, you have moms, you have dads. Even if it isn't your mom or your dad, find someone who you can relate to, who you can talk to, who can help you, who can guide you, a mentor, somebody. Because that watching you go through that, seeing that, you weren't the only one I watched go through that.
He was beloved in his community.
Yeah,
my boy
I remember
Trey.
He got signed. Didn't he get signed to a music group? And he was doing Rolling Loud and stuff? Or
I don't know if he...
Not a music
I
group,
wasn't too into his, business life.
Yeah.
I was just more so, saw his potential very early on. It's my boy Trey we talking about.
Yeah.
The 1 year anniversary actually just passed the other day. It's been a whole year since that happened, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to him though. Shout out to his mom. It's April.
Yeah.
His girl, my sister Dion. We got love for all y'all. And like I said, you just make sure, like she said very beautifully, you got to make sure you talk to people, because once it gets to a point where you're making these decisions about whether it's worth it or not, about how hard it is, these things affect other people. And it seems selfish to not consider yourself, but you need to consider yourself, because that's realizing that you have value. the fact that people around you will feel some kind of way, that means you hold value. And that right there is purpose alone, you know?
Yeah.
So,
What my lowest point I'll share with you, because I told my friend that I would share my story about depression. Why not now, if any? So during depression, I experienced this feeling of this isn't real. Like it felt like a video game where you get hurt and then you come back to life. Like it just like you weren't going to die. Like it wasn't real.
oh yeah.
Like none of this was real. Like no way I was experiencing life. This is not life. This can't be life. And what it is and what it was I could not see past my circumstances. I couldn't see that my circumstances weren't even as bad as they could have been. And during that time, I seeked help, yes, but I also talked to a doctor and they put me on mental health, pills to help regulate my calmness, I guess, anxiety. And it made me conversate with myself in my head before I said anything to anybody else. And that is really when I learned to check with me first. And I know it's sad to say I had to learn something through that, but you got to take something with you when you go through these trials and tribulations. You got to take something with you. And I learned that to check with me first about how I feel about certain things, because the words wouldn't come out. I was so zombied out, the words wouldn't come out. The medicine was very low. It was very low. The dosage wasn't even high. My body was just very sensitive, and I learned something through that process. But I could have got hit by a bus. Could have cared less. I was waiting on the day that bus came. I was waiting. I was writing. I didn't write suicide letters to my parents, but I wrote a poem letting them know just exactly how lost I was, and I didn't want to be here. I didn't care to live at that time, and they knew I didn't care to live.
It hurts. It's a gut punch when people hear it, but sometimes you just gotta let it be known. If people don't know you're at that low, they don't know. So how can you get the help? Sometimes you gotta let it be known. Like even if you just get that out in a poem, like you said, and you tuck that away, just getting it out of yourself is important sometimes too. Understanding those feelings, being able to convey them, whether it's to yourself or others. The fact that you're having that mental conversation is great.
Yeah.
You got to be your own harshest critic, and for the best and worst.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I would probably never go back to, or never plan on it anywho. But I just want everyone to be mindful that, when you make a decision without helping yourself in all the ways you can possibly help yourself, then you give yourself the short end of the stick. Don't give yourself the short end of the stick. Fight and wake up every day. Even watching Jada Pinkett Smith's interview about what she went through and how she felt about it and how that impacted her. And it's important. It's important, y'all. It's just mad important for y'all to seek help when you need it. So, do you believe that there are signs that people leave behind? Like signs that people leave when they are going through mental health? Like what is something that we can do to help somebody else when we see them? When we see them struggling like that?
I think there's definitely indicators. What do they cries for help? That's what they say. Like whether it's just a change in tone, like your friend doesn't have as much conviction or energy as passion towards the things that they did before. Personal appearance, like if somebody just seems to stop caring about that and they start drifting off, like in a very considerate way, you have to eventually ask that. Like you have to inquire with the people you care about, because I
Yeah.
think those are like little
Yeah.
signs, the
Don't
jokes
brush
they
it
make,
off.
all that
Yeah.
stuff, you know.
Don't brush it off and say you're gonna be all
It's
right. Because
important.
that's something really big in our community, and particularly, don't brush it off. If that baby said, if that baby said, Ma, something going on. I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling some kind of way. Don't brush that off. That baby just told you exactly how they feel. Don't brush that off.
A boy you goofy or you
Yeah.
too young to know is not a
Yeah.
solution. It's easy to brush off these issues in our community because like we haven't had the generational like
Intervention.
we
I
haven't
feel.
had the access to the same things other people have. And
That too.
being seen a certain way in your community is still like very important. There's
Yeah.
still, it's slightly performative even in some aspects. And people like the posture, but nobody wants to talk about those things. But we have to make that the new cool. We have to make taking care of self the new black. Like
We have the guys' nights and girls' nights where
know,
y'all talk about stuff during y'all week that y'all went through.
it's important.
It's important.
The
Yes.
we don't community is important, and in this internet age and all this stuff, we don't have the barbershop and salon culture we used to.
I
We
went to the
don't.
barber the other day and I got a whole lot of life lessons.
That's
I was
what I'm
shocked,
saying.
but
But
not
like
a lot of
people
people
don't,
go there.
they don't
Women
hang
ain't
out
in
there
there.
no more. Like
Yeah.
it's you go there when you go there, and it's for something special.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not a community gathering place anymore. It's not where people feel safe. There's not these community centers that aren't run by also the police, which make you feel uncomfortable. There's not things going on in your community run by your community for people in the community.
Yeah.
There's not as many of those projects going on. So like it's kind of hard to initiate those conversations.
But we're the next generation. And I know I
Definitely.
interrupted.
This next generation gonna be on point. Matter of fact, I know our kids gonna be sick of us. They sneeze, they bump their toe.
Mama,
Do you
gotta
need therapy?
every time. Why you always asking me if I'm okay?
Right?
What's wrong? Well, ain't nothing wrong, Ma. No, I'm just checking.
Everything. We're gonna be on that. And I'd
Yeah.
rather be, it's not that I'd rather be like too cautious or too strict, because coddling creates a certain environment too, and that's not safe also. But it's just being aware of the signs. Like you said, there's signs, and there's been generations of ways of ignoring it and putting it off.
we can
Music,
help them
drinking,
by
smoking, any of that. People will put all that off for a good weekend and some forget about it.
Yeah.
And then they just keep it pushing like it didn't happen. And it's like, no, you need to address that. You're just stacking up chapters of trauma in your life.
Yeah.
You got to address that at some point before you're just that adult punching holes in the walls. Like,
Thank you
like,
for saying that, because there's a lot of them out there.
that snap is real.
Yeah, thank you. I gotta say, Taymar, thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing a little bit of yourself with
great.
them and me. I'm very grateful, like beyond measure. Like your story is everything, and I am
Like,
excited
give
to
me the
see.
opportunity.
Yes, like I'm excited to see what you do for yourself in the future, especially here in our community.
We here. You too.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what we do. I can't wait to see what we do.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I do greatly appreciate, I'm just trying to be a little bit of Oprah with Dr. Phil a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, thank you so much. I am your host, Deju, and you are watching Deju Speaks, and we are live every Thursday at 5.